and having heaven in view. Welcome, Emmanuel. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay.
Welcome to you all. Once again, we are the Friends of Purpose in Christ, and this conversation is Purposeful Living Conversation, edition 14. And we have an interesting theme. It has come in an era where many people want to fly out of the country, and we have prospective international students in our midst. So I believe this theme has come at the right time for us to benefit from. But before we begin, let's pray together. Almighty Father, we thank you for this opportunity to discuss and to gain insight into opportunities abroad. We know you want the best for us. Guide us throughout this conversation, and we pray that your presence will lead us. In the end, we'll give you the glory for this. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray with thanksgiving. Amen. Thank you, our wonderful audience and our panelists. We have Emmanuel and Danny. Welcome, Emmanuel. Emmanuel is a PhD student.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome. Emmanuel
Thank you.
is a PhD student in the USA, and I believe himself with Danny Texan are the right mix for us, the right spec, the kind of right experts to guide us with this theme. As we run along with this conversation, with this discussion, we are encouraging you all to share your views, ask your questions, whether it regards the destination, the visa application, anything about traveling. As a prospective international student, you are welcome to bring on board your questions and comments. And be reminded that we are being streamed live on Facebook and on YouTube, Twitter as well. I can see Danny Texan. Hello, Daniel. You're welcome.
Yeah, hello, thank you. Thank you very
Can
much.
you have your video on?
Sure, I would put it. I'm trying to get my
All right, thank you. So, Emmanuel, please begin with your presentation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you have my slide, if you can pull that up. Thank you guys for having me. It's an opportunity for me to be here. I appreciate you guys for finding me worthy to come talk to you guys. I appreciate it. I so much appreciate it. If you can have my slide, please, I really appreciate you can pull it up at this time.
Yeah, doing that.
Okay. Yes, so I'm Emmanuel Chike. I'm doing my PhD.
The other name, Onyedikachi.
Yeah, that's my name also, Onyedikachi Emmanuel Chike. I'm a PhD in applied economics at Texas Tech University, where I work as a research assistant as well as a graduate part-time instructor. And I'm also a senior consultant at CI Education Consult, where we help people from all over Africa to come to study in the United States and in Canada. So here today, I appreciate you guys for inviting me, and I will be sharing study abroad opportunities. And I'll also take some questions. Please, you're free to ask anything that you want clarification on. So study abroad opportunities. I'm going to be talking a couple of things that we need to be aware of. Some of us might be aware, but a little bit of more details, some specific details regarding some of these processes. of trying to leave Africa to come study in the US, Canada, UK, and all of that. And what I'll be covering today will be destination related, education opportunities abroad, university admission, and I will take some questions.
All right.
Yes. So while we wait for them to share the slide, I will go ahead and get started. So first, when we talk about destination, there are specific countries that our international people, especially people from Africa, we mostly go to. And some of those countries are US, UK, Canada. These are top countries that people go to. And people go to Europe, some other European countries. But I want to specifically talk about the destination choice between these three, because these are the top three places that people go to. And the first thing I want to talk about here is, in terms of choosing a destination, there are a few things you need to consider. First, you need to consider this university and the program. In the US, for example, there are more university options because US is already a big country, right? It's as big as West Africa, if not more than West Africa.
That one, yes.
So there are
sorry, Emmanuel, can I stop you for a minute? You can actually share your screen, so you and Danny can both share your screen when you are ready.
Can you share it, because my system couldn't let me come up, so I'm using my phone for the video.
Okay, I can share it.
Okay, please, thank you. Yes. So sorry about that. So she'll be sharing the slide with us. So as I was saying, US has more option than UK because UK is already a smaller country. Now, if you consider a program, you have more options in the US. Now, if you come to UK in terms of programs, UK universities are more focused. Their programs are more direct, right? They are more and because it's more direct and focused in your field, that made it to be that they do it in a shorter amount of time. Masters in the UK.
Sorry for the distraction. Please continue.
Yeah, within a year, most people finish their masters in the UK. But in the US, you see that sometimes it takes up to 2 years. So it takes more time in the US because there are so much of coursework to do. Even in terms of PhD, there's so much of coursework to do. In the UK, for example, you do more of research in PhD related programs. So, and there is no GRE requirement in UK for most schools. I said for most schools because London School of Economics require GRE. So if you want to go to London School of Economics for your graduate program, they might, for some program, they might require you to submit GRE. But for all these other top schools in the UK, they do not. And again, if you come to Canada, Canada has some kind of good opportunity for students. And one of those opportunities for students is that as an international student, you can always work off campus while you are going to school. So if you're looking at school with, which I will come to immigration related stuff, if you're looking at school that have, country that has immigration friendly programs, Canada is the destination. Now let's talk about the postgraduate opportunities. Now in the US, you have what we call the OPT, optional practical training. That is a time you get after you graduated from school. You can work for some time before you go back to your home country. If you do a non-STEM program, then you have at least 1 year to work. But if you do a STEM program, you can get an extension that can take up to a maximum of 3 years for you to work after you finish your study. Sarah, are you able to share the screen?
Trying to pull up the slides, so that is taking a little bit of time, but I will share it.
Okay. So, as I was saying, US has that opportunity, and in UK in 2021, UK created this program which they call post-school work permit. And UK created this program such that when you finish, you can, for master students, you can work for 2 years, and PhD can work for up to 3 years. So this is kind of like I call it immigration war, because if you realize, a couple of years back, UK do not allow you to stay back after study. They can send you back instantly. I had a friend that once studied in UK at some point, and when he finished, he said that they came to him like, hey, you need to go, that kind of a thing. That was a couple of years back.
That was cool. Go back home.
Yeah. So, but in 2021, they created this program in a way to attract international students and to attract professionals, young professionals. So now you can work in UK after you finish study. And if you come to Canada in terms of post-graduation opportunities, Canada already has a very good structure. Now, they have what they call postgraduate work permit. And postgraduate work permit will allow you to work after you finish, and there is an important and good, very beneficial route from that program for you to get your permanent residence. So you can get your residency after you graduate through postgraduate work permit in Canada. Now, the most interesting part in terms of these countries is the funding opportunity. Because for you to get through all these things, you need money.
True.
You need money. So US has a more robust funding opportunity. I say it's because like schools in the US are more easier to, like, they easily can give you some funding opportunities in terms of graduate research assistantship, teaching assistantship, research assistantship, graduate part-time instructor, scholarship, fellowship, and others. So there are more opportunities for you to get funded in the US. So they have so many opportunities for you to get funding. Now, if you come to UK funding opportunity is somehow limited, especially for masters and undergraduate students. You can get some scholarships, some fellowship. There are some external body funding in UK, which you can take advantage of. So if you take some of those advantage, those ones kind of like you have to apply for some of them separately from your admission. But in US, as you are applying for your admission, for most schools and most programs, they are already considering you for some funding opportunity that they have in the department and in the school. Now, if you come to Canada that has a very good immigration opportunity, they also have a limited funding in a way, especially for masters and undergrad. And the fundings are limited in the way of scholarship, fellowship, and research grants. And there are some internal school and external funding within your department. So, which requires you to do more of digging before you apply to a school in Canada. So, if we come to the education opportunities.
Please let me get this clear. So, sorry to cut you short, but for you're talking about the time span, the duration. So for USA, it takes a longer period, but then there are many funding opportunities. But for UK, you might have a year, but for funding, you struggle with it. Is that clear?
Yes, for most parts, you struggle with the funding in UK. Okay. But if you are lucky, you can get some external funding, and some departments can give you some partial funding sometimes. Okay. Oh, thank you. Sarah is here with us with the slides.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So, for for UK, there are some limited funding, right? Now, Sarah, can you take the previous slide where we're talking about destination and opportunities? Yes, thank you. Now, if you come to UK, you'll find out that the programs are shorter and the scholarship and fellowship are some of the things you can receive. Some can have full funding, but most times, it doesn't come like that. But you have within 1 year to finish your program compared to US in terms of masters. And PhD in UK takes about 3 years, but in US, it's an average of 5 years. So those are the things to consider.
I think they want to consider the people that if you are finding yourself, then hurry up and finish. They don't want to stress you. I can take it from that perspective. But thanks for the insight.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And again, let's go to the university, education opportunities now. Now, we have in the next slide, we have education opportunities. We have degree programs, undergraduate programs, masters, and like the undergraduate program, masters and PhD program, which is in the graduate programs. Sarah, can you give us the next slide? Thank you. So we have the undergraduate programs. Here, I will focus mostly for the US. I'll focus mostly for the US. We can take questions afterwards for other countries.
Okay.
But here, I'll focus mostly for the US. And when you come to undergraduate programs, there are very limited funding. There are fundings, but they are limited for undergraduate. So the thing is this, in the US, the higher you go, the more opportunity you have in terms of funding.
Okay.
So there are some good, I've helped some undergraduate students to get into school in the US without having to pay tuition. But the thing is this, there are requirements, which when I come to the admission requirements, I will highlight for us. There are ways to get to those things, right? So when we come to the admission requirements, I will talk more on those things in masters and PhD. Now, where I want to talk more on this slide is on non-degree programs. There are some study abroad opportunities that you can come to US without coming here for a degree program. Some schools have some of those opportunities whereby you can just come for a summer program, take some summer classes, and at the end of the day, you go back to your home country.
Okay.
So US has a couple of that, and for me, I was a beneficiary of such program before coming for my graduate program. As undergrad in Nigeria, I came to the US first for a study abroad program. So there are some of those programs you can come here. Some you need to come through your school. Some you can come alone. Some you can sponsor yourself, apply for it, sponsor yourself, come for it. Some will require like some kind of partnership between your school and the school in the US. Okay. And there are some workshops and conferences. And one of those opportunities I want to highlight in workshop and conferences, there is what we call the Young African, I think it's called YALI, which is a program by Young African Leaders kind of program, YALI. So it's done by the US government, whereby they bring some young professionals from different African countries to come and take some workshop, some training, attend conferences here in the US, and go back at the end of the day to implement what they've learned in their home country.
All right, please, you are talking about undergrads now, right?
Yeah, no. So here, this is for mostly for young professionals.
Okay.
For the Young African Leaders Initiative is for young professionals, but you have to be less than 30 years, and be doing something. You have to show that you have something that you want to come to learn more from the US and go back to your home country to improve on.
Okay.
Yes. So those are workshops. For study abroad are for undergrads. Study abroad are for undergrads. You can come here as undergrads and do that. Now, let's go to the university
The
admission.
funding for this, is limited, right? Because they are undergrads.
Yeah, for study abroad, the funding is limited. There are some schools that have maybe some partial funding, right? I know some schools, like for example, Georgia State has some of those kind of programs under the international students program and plans and all of that. So they have one that it costs, I think, about $5,000, but they can give you partial tuition if you apply on time and if you show proof of need, and you have to pay the remaining to just come, right? So most of the study abroad programs are self-funded. Most of them are self-funded.
Okay, this question is from Hilda, and I hope you've been answered. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's how some of those programs operate, right? So again, for YALI, Young African Leaders Initiative, it is fully funded by the US government. And even after you finish and you're going back, they give you some posts, like they give you some stipend, right? So, but it's not easy to get, I will tell you. I worked in the planning of that program before, so I know how tense it could be for you to get into that program. Okay. So yeah. Any other question on that before I go on to the admission?
Please go on to the admission, and we have lots of questions, so please be quick. Okay. Yes, we have so many questions.
Okay, so I don't know, our slide is, Sarah is not, I don't know if she's having difficulty with the slides, but it's okay. So let's go to the university admissions. So let's go to the university admissions. Now, we have the undergraduates. Now, in the US, there are two ways to apply for admission for undergraduate program. One, through the Common App. Common App is a database where you can apply to multiple schools from. You can apply to different schools on Common App, right? It's like the UK equivalent of UCAS. UK has what they call the UCAS, which is also a database, and I think the UK, that UCAS is University College Admission System or something, or services. So that's where the UK you apply to schools most time for undergraduate. So in the US, they have what they call the Common App. So you can apply to the Common App or to the university website. Some schools for undergrad will send you back to Common App. And what are the requirements for you to apply for admission in the US for undergrad? You have the SAT. You have the essays. You need to write some essays. You need to write, for undergrad in the US, the ability for you to write multiple good essays can tell if you can get enough funding or not.
Oh, wow.
And your ability to score high in SAT can determine or can give you automatic tuition waiver, maybe 10%, 20%, 50%, 80%, or thereabout. So high score in SAT plays a huge role in amount of money you can get from a school. And your high school transcript. Do you have a question? Okay. So high school transcript. You need to have your high school transcript. I know some schools in Africa don't really give high school transcript, but these are requirements. Yes, you can apply for your high school transcript. Get your high school transcript, use some evaluation, maybe WES or any of the evaluation website to evaluate it, and then submit it for to the admission committee. Some schools don't need you to evaluate it, but sometimes it's good for you to evaluate it. And then for some undergraduate programs, some schools will ask you to get a rec letter from your school teacher, high school teacher. So, and some of that maybe depending on the school, some other specific requirements. Now let's go to master's program, which is where most people here might fall into the master's program. Now, when it comes to the master's program, the key requirement there is your bachelor's degree. Now, I have had situations where people studied in some kind of schools that are not university, where they received national diploma or higher national diploma, which is different from a bachelor's degree. Now, some schools in the US, you can use words to evaluate those transcripts, and then they can accept it and admit you direct into a master's program. So if you have national diploma or higher national diploma, higher national diploma can help you to get direct into a master's program in the US, but not in Canada. Canada will not accept higher national diploma. UK schools will not, most of them will not accept higher national diploma. They will ask you to do MPhil.
Okay.
Or they will ask you to do some like leveling classes.
That would be the condition for accepting the HND.
Yes, in UK and Canada.
Okay.
Right. So, but US, you can get into a US school, most US schools, with your higher national diploma once you have done West evaluation. Now, GRE or GMAT, this is the big elephant in the room. And it's the exam that scares most people.
Many people.
Yes, a lot of people get scared with this exam. I was scared about it at some point, so I understand. No matter how smart you are, no matter how brilliant you are, GRE can mess you up if you don't really prepare.
Yeah, so
the same thing with
is please prepare, okay? If you are being scared, it's still possible. We have someone here who passed through it. Thank you.
Yes. So no matter how it is, I want you to know that your level of preparation play a huge role. So practice as many questions as you can practice. There are so many practice questions you can practice, and then write it. I think, and the good thing about it is that since COVID, a lot of schools, they've removed GRE and GMAT as a core requirement.
Okay.
So since COVID, a lot of schools have removed it from their requirement. And there are some schools that don't have it in their requirement at all. Some have it as a recommended requirement. Some don't require it at all. So there are some schools like that. And the SOP, statement of purpose.
Please, Emmanuel, I'm sorry to distract, but I think because of our time, you need to, yes. I'll get back to you on this. Because of the questions are many. So please let me give Danny Texan a chance. We'll come back to you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So Danny, please can you help us with your demonstration? Thank you. Hello, Danny.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes, but I can't see you.
Oh, really? Then check. You should be able to see me now. Can you see me now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Emmanuel has touched on a lot of things, and it's really helpful. For me, I don't have much experience in helping students across Europe and the rest. But what I can say would be more related to North America, that is US and Canada. And I'll just focus on someone who wants to go into graduate studies, just to keep it simple. There are a lot of other opportunities if you want to go start from undergrad or going into PhD. But what I would say would double up for master's and PhD as well. So the big thing in this is that most people, can you see my screen? Okay, great. So in school applications, etc., the biggest thing people look out for is funding. And Isaac has mentioned a couple of funding. That is having assistantship from the school. Assistantship means like direct scholarship from the school, where you might not have to pay tuition, but you work as some form of duties on campus, usually in your department, or there are also administrative tasks they'll ask you to do. There are also internal funding, which does not relate to your assistantship, but will be like some scholarship on campus. However, those ones you have to almost more often than not be in the program before you are given that scholarship. So it doesn't really apply if you are now going in. The third one is external funding, which Emmanuel talked about, that there might be third-party organization that may want to fund you, your company, government scholarship from your country, etc. So that's about the funding. The next thing I want to talk about, I'll just be brief. The next thing I want to talk about is the school search, and that's the biggest thing for most people. So in searching for schools, I usually demonstrate a couple of things to give you a place to start with. Now, let's suppose you have graduated undergrad, you've done your national service or whatever, you're working a couple of maybe a year or two, or even just coming out of your national service and you want to start school application. I would say you might probably have heard a lot of people giving, insights and giving a lot of, but I just want to help you as to where to start from. So now let's suppose you open Google and you want to start searching. One big place to go to is what we call the 4 ICU universities. Right. Once you go there, you see like different countries. This just ranks all the schools, quote unquote, in the whole world. But let's make it simple by doing 4 ICU USA. So whichever country you want to add, you want to go to, you can add. You can even do 4 ICU Ghana or 4 ICU Nigeria, 4 ICU Romania, Finland, etc. You get schools from there. So once you hit that, let's suppose you want to go to the US. There's a whole lot of schools, very difficult to start with, but let's narrow it down to states. So once you navigate the website, you should see states. So this gives you all the states in the US. So the states and the number of schools in there. So we see Michigan with 46 university. We see Maine with 18. We see Illinois with 73. So let's suppose I go into Illinois, then I see a whole lot of schools being ranked. Now, ideally, these rankings are just based on general, should I say, reputation of the school and infrastructure, and maybe some form of undergrad performance, number of students they pick in there. So I would say these rankings are not program specific. They are websites to search for program specific rankings. But let's suppose we are in Illinois, we want to study in Illinois, and we want to go to, this is a very good school to go to that they do accept a lot of international students. So let's try looking at Illinois State University. So you might just wake up one day, start checking all the schools, say I want to go to Illinois, and I start checking through. So I get to Illinois State, I click that. Then once I get in here, once you click on the name, the school name here, it takes you to the website directly. So I click on the school name, then I come to Illinois State University. Now I'm in Illinois State University. I want to study, do some master's program. Anytime go to the website, look out for admissions, future students, academics, those tabs, they are usually at the top there. So we have admissions here. Once you click on it, okay, there are lots of things, how to apply, etc. Oh, you want to go to graduate school. Okay, now let's check academics. Once you go to academics, it says majors, graduate programs, minors. Okay, now let's go to graduate programs. Once you go into graduate programs, depending on the school's website, you might see master's program, PhD programs, etc. So you just scroll through and see the one that relates to you. And I would say be very flexible. So if, let's say, you read econ, you might always look out for like all things related to econs, agric and resource econs, agriculture, economics, all things in that space. If you read, let's say, bio, mathematics, you can do biomathematics here. You can do biostatistics. So be a bit flexible as to what you want, so you could have opportunities in most of the schools. Now, I use communication to demonstrate usually, and also cons, but let me use communication this time. Suppose you want to do communication, then you say that, okay, I want to try to use something which is non-STEM. So once you click on communications, the program they have, this is the Masters in Communication here. You would see a general overview of the course. Okay, now you have extra information on how to apply. Then it talks about the application requirements, the things you have to know, GPA, if there are letters of recommendation, how to apply your CV, if they have to have a sample writing. With the sample writing, it's probably can be a term paper or something you've done in school, or it can even be an online article you've written. If probably you're going to things like communication, it will be very good to have all these things. And it tells you reference letters, etc. Then there's a good thing here. You see the deadline to the application generally. The next thing to look out for is the funding, right? Here it's very good. They have all the funding information in one page with the application requirements. So you see it there. They tell you what they offer: graduate assistantship, graduate teaching assistantship, which comes with tuition waiver, etc. Then you are able to shortlist this school. If you have extra information, you can ask them here, and most definitely they are going to get back to you. However, if you want to be more personal, you can look for the graduate coordinator. So we have the graduate coordinator here. So you can just click here and look for her profile, and you can email her. I'll talk a little bit about emails, but generally, let's see. If you don't see the graduate coordinator here, you have to go to the faculty members. So we have faculty members here. So we just click on faculty members. Then there are a lot of here. They've put the true faculty and the graduate teaching assistants all on the website. So you see this website, you see people with nice Ghanaian names here, and some Nigerian names are also here, and other, South Asians, etc. So it just means they are open to bringing in internationals. So that should really encourage you to apply. In this space also, you can also, see people you can reach out to. You see their emails here. You can reach out to them and ask them about the program and how they got in. So that is a good way to go.
A very good way.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I say, if you don't see the graduate coordinator there, you come look for them here. Now, let's suppose I have seen the graduate coordinator. What is the next thing to do? So if I see the graduate coordinator, let's suppose I want to send them an email. Ideally, there are certain things you need to ask them. This is a standard email you can send them. You can just ask them, oh, hope you are doing well. My name is, introduce yourself. Well, my name is so and so, a fall 2024 prospective applicant to the Masters in, we are using communication as an example, Masters in Communication at University or at Illinois State University. I hold a bachelor's in so and so from the University of with a GPA of that. I have a couple of questions and I want to ask you. Number one, how many students do you admit into the program, and how many are you considered for graduate assistantship? That should give you a ratio, because if they admit 5 people and they only give 1 graduate assistantship, it shows the chances of getting assistant. If they say they admit 5 and they give assistantship to 3 or 4, that's very encouraging.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the way to go. And you can ask them that, okay, so you can also ask for application fee waiver. You always want to cut down cost at the very beginning, because there are a lot of things you have to do. Once you get even the scholarship and the funding, you have to think of service fee, payment of visa application fee, getting the visa, your plane ticket, etc. So every dollar here and there is very significant. So you can ask, do you have application fee waiver? They might say yes, they might say no. When they say yes, it's all the better.
Yes.
And some programs will require that you reach out to professors before applying. So I just put this in there as a template. And always do add your CV and your transcript. Because once you add a CV and a transcript, it makes you more legit. And more often than not, emails with very good attachment, nice names and files attached, don't often go to spam. So add those, and it's more often than not going to get to them. You can add extra things to them. This is another sample email. It has the same intro, but 1 or 2 extra questions. Maybe it's unclear if they require GRE. It's also unclear if, let's say, they require TOEFL and IELTS, etc. You can ask that here, but don't. I always say, though this is a good way to go, don't ask obvious questions which are on the website. Try and find out so that you minimize the number of questions you ask them. So I think that's about it. If you've asked this, then you just hold on tight and wait for a response. Now, I also want to just add 1 or 2 other things, then I end my session. So now let's come back to the school search. So you keep doing this, coming back to this tab for, as many schools as you can. And you can always talk to people to help you narrow down the schools. Because some of the schools, they are more likely that you get in than others. Because some of the schools, you might probably have to come and do some form of master's here or undergrad here before you can get to those type of schools coming from, Africa and things. Because it's they usually don't trust your training you've had in your background. Okay. So if they see that you have a US training, it's more likely to get to a top school. Yeah. So if let's suppose somebody does a master's program here, if they get a very good GRE, etc., they might probably go into Chicago. The University of Chicago is very big in the US, like number 3 or 4. So that's the way to search for the schools. Every country you want to go to. This is just regions, right? But once you come, every country you want to go to, you can find it at this website, the 4 ICU universities. Just add the country's name, 4 ICU universities, and you find it. The next thing I want to talk about is online resources. I'm sure Emmanuel will probably share some of his resources, but this is a good YouTube page to follow. Kingsford Onyina. He does a lot of good content for people coming out from Africa to the US. He gives like neat schools you can apply to, that there's a high chance you get in and you get funded. So try and watch some of his videos. There's one guy here too, as the Fred Effect. He also has good videos that helps people coming from Africa. Sometimes you see a lot of online videos, but I don't know which ones to follow. But these are good samples to start with. We also did a program with this group, Best Grade Services. They talked about studying in Asia, Europe in detail. So you can also follow them and see some of the videos they also have there. It's very helpful. Finally, I come to LinkedIn. A good way to search for schools on LinkedIn is, now let's suppose I want to go to, let me just use my school. I want to go to UNC Chapel Hill and I want to study econ. I just come to LinkedIn. Just make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. You come to LinkedIn, then you search UNC Chapel Hill. Right. So then you use the school and the program you want to study. So let's say economics. Then you have to add something that will help you narrow your search down. So the school I want to go to, the program, and people who have probably studied in your school. So you can add University of Ghana. So this will give a neat search for you to see people who came from University of Ghana, who came to the US, who are in Chapel Hill, and they are studying economics. So where you are coming from, where you want to go, and the program. Once you search this, it comes out with people with such profile. So when it comes out with people with such profile, then you start clicking on them and trying to connect with them. Once you click on them, you can see, okay, what did they do to get there? Then you see that, okay, the guy went to this school, did that, and he got there. Then you can at least reach out to them that I'm planning to apply to this school. What should I do? How can I go about it? And once you do this, you keep getting a lot of schools with Ghanaians there. And you can always reach out to them and ask them how they got in there. Probably they should help you. And anytime you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, don't leave it vague. I need help. Go like, I have done this. I've searched for this school. I'm thinking of applying here, and this is my GPA, this is what I have, this is what and I've done this. Can you please help me? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that is it. I would end my session here. I know it was very, I rushed through it, but we didn't have much time. So I just wanted to keep it short so that we could get time for questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Thank you. Thank you so much. Both of you are really seasoned experts, and we are grateful for this. It's very detailed. Thank you. Please, without questions, I need to leave some out. So I'm beginning with, what are some of the core factors I should focus on in my funding application? Please, Emmanuel, can you help us answer that? What are some of the core factors I should focus on in my funding application?
Okay, I think Danny did a great job in trying to expose us to the school website, right? One thing to focus on looking at for funding is look out for departments and schools that offer GRA position, RA position, or teaching assistantship positions, right? And you can easily see that on the department website. Every department that offer funding, such funding, will have those things. So look for those indicators. And in terms of the admission requirement, most departments, most schools in the US do not have a separate requirement for you to be considered. When you apply, the documents you supply is what they will use. And again, there are some tools, I think Danny mentioned this about reaching out to a professor. There are some departments that the funding are held by individual departments. So yeah, so look out for those aspects and reach out to a professor as well. So those are things you need to look out for. Look for just RA position and TA positions.
All right, thank you. And please, our audience, we do have many questions, but you can still bring on board your questions. And before I move to the next one, we want to remind ourselves that we are being streamed online. So you can invite a friend, remind a friend to join on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Thank you. Please, to our next question. Someone's asking that, how do I deal with multiple rejections? I think the person has suffered in the hands of these people. But he's asking that, how does he deal with multiple rejections? Have you experienced that before? Do you know someone who has experienced that? And any help to that question, Danny?
Rejection is part of the process, right? And
Anticipated.
just to add, in moving from, I did a master's in the US before coming to UNC Chapel. In moving from there to UNC Chapel, well, maybe the only thing that helped was that I had a lot of opportunity to get some application fee waiver and professors to write me a recommendation letter. But I applied to 17 schools. I only got one.
Wow.
And that's why I am now.
Wonderful.
So
This person to advise us on this.
yes, when I was coming from Ghana I applied to 10 schools. I got into 4 of them. I got funding from 2.
Wow. So narrow.
So I would say that the best way to deal with rejection is go to a professional, go to someone to help you. So you apply to the right places.
Okay.
Yes. So you apply to the right. Sometimes you should know your strength and where to apply to, so that to reduce the number of rejections you get.
It will guide
But rejection is part of the process.
So handle it well. It's part of it. To our audience, it's part of it. So handle it well. And probably we should add, from what you said, apply to many schools, but know your strength so that you narrow it down to where your strength is. Thank you so much. This another question is, what are some of the factors to consider when I'm making a decision concerning offers from different schools and different countries? Emmanuel, please, what are some of the factors to consider when I'm making a decision concerning offers from different schools and different countries? So let me say, if I have 5 different schools from 3 different countries, you helped us in dividing this into USA, UK, and Canada. So what are some of the factors to consider to make such a decision? Please, should I repeat it?
I think you are muted.
I didn't know I was muted. I'm so sorry. So, coming from Africa to any of these countries in the world, one thing you have to understand is that finance is a very huge factor. I will strongly tell you, first, understand the country you want to go, have a decision goal for yourself. And if you can afford the money, that's fine. But if you cannot, if money is a huge factor, consider funding very much important, and consider life after school. Because when you finish school, there will be opportunities in any of these countries, but some will be easier to get than others. US has a good opportunity, Canada has good opportunity, UK, but before you to have that decision, consider the option, the program, consider the school, consider the funding. These are very, very important if you have different offers, and the location of the school as well. These are very important when you are making decisions.
Okay, thank you. I hope Sarah is answered with that. Sarah from the US, a Ghanaian Sarah, resident in Ghana. Thank you. Please to Danny. We must have it that the US is a place with good opportunities, even for international students. Suppose I have admission into a country other than the US. What are some of the ways I can move into the US after my study? I don't know if this person wants to be a resident or continue furthering the education, but you say that we must have it that USA is a place with good opportunities for international students. So suppose I have admission into a country other than the US. What are some of the ways I can move into the US after my study in that other country? Please, Danny, help us.
Okay. I would say that it's wherever you go and study, before you start studying, have a long-term goal if you want to come into the US. So if you are doing a master's there, start thinking of a second master's in the US or a PhD in the US. If you are thinking of mainly relocating just to get into the system, once you get here, you probably know what it takes to get opportunities in here. On the flip side, if you are thinking of going to the school there, then when you are done, you relocate here, it's a bit dicey. For that, I don't know much about it. I'm not a legal expert in, residency and all that. But what I can say is that one smooth way to move into a country is through education. So once you are done, have the goal in mind that you probably want to do an extra study in the US. So get a very good GPA if you go to Finland, if you go to Norway, if you go to Belarus, if you go wherever you go to, if the US or Canada is your place you want to come, have a long-term goal that I'll strive in this program, do well, get good GPAs, then I can apply to US schools and enter the system as well. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you. Please, you have this question that please can you give a brief highlight on the various steps to consider in the school application process? I think that has been answered. So please, you can rewatch the video. You have the answer. Thank you. And please to Emmanuel.
Yes.
Yes, what country is the easiest to obtain a student visa?
Every country have their challenge in student visa. No one comes easy, right? No one is handed to you just outrightly. And again, your country is a huge factor. There are some countries that is more difficult to get visa from, right? So there's no easy way to this. Yeah, there's no easy. Depending on your country, maybe if you are from Ghana, I would say maybe Ghana, it might be faster for UK. But there's no easy way to all these things. And yeah, there's no easy way to getting visa. You just have to go through the process and be able to, prove yourself to get the visa. Yeah.
Yeah, and add prayers to it. I was doing the right thing. Thank you for that. Please add this question to it. Answer this question as well. Please, what are some of the advice you can give to prospective international students concerning the completion of visa applications, visa interviews, and some of the things to avoid throughout this process? So this person is asking that what are some of the advice you can
Yeah.
give to prospective international students concerning the completion of visa applications, the visa interviews, and some of the things to avoid throughout this process?
So one thing I tell people first is beware of scammers. Beware of scammers. Like some people, I see people on the internet that would come up to say that they will help you to get visa. They'll help you to get US visa to this. See, nobody can get you the US visa except the US embassy that will issue you the visa, right? So beware of scams. They are all over the place. Scammers are everywhere. And another thing you have to do is put in the work, right? It's not easy. I say that I have this kind of like ideology to tell people that, you see, to study abroad is financial intensive. Even if you have funding or not, you need money, right? So during the visa interview, compose yourself. Like if you ever go there and say that, oh, I'm moving to the US, I want to study in the US and stay back in the US, they're not going to give you the visa. You have to prove ties back to your country, why you will come back after studies. So those are ways to get the US visa specifically. Prepare, like take time to prepare. Take time to watch. Danny has shared so many good YouTube videos. Take time to watch. Watch videos, look at people's testimonies, read people's transcript for visa interview, right? Get prepared, compose yourself. These are things that, not that you are not qualified to get visa interview, to get the visa during the interview. Sometimes it's just mere psychology that they will use to deny visa. So these are things I would say you should kind of put in perspective.
Okay, thank you. And put in the hard work. Please, the audience, we are still accepting questions. Our time is running, but still, if you have any question, clarification you need, you can still bring it on board. So to Danny, please, we have a question for you that what are some of the factors? Sorry, please, assuming you have secured admission and your funding, how do you connect with other students before you even enter the country? So to Danny, assuming you've secured admission and your funding, you are fully funded, how do you connect with other students before you even enter the country? I know you spoke of LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's one platform. Another way to go to, as I said, LinkedIn, then try to connect with them and ask them, ideally about how the program is. If they know someone in the program, maybe you might not necessarily get somebody in the program you are going to, but you might get another person who can help you, usually with picking you up at the airports, helping you with accommodation, and helping you with settling in. Another way to go is to email the same graduate coordinator for which you are going into the program. Email them and ask them, oh, is there a Nigerian, a Ghanaian, an African, or somebody, a graduate student who you can connect with? They will definitely direct you to other students in the program who then can help you find somebody. So I think LinkedIn, the program website, if the graduate student, their pictures or their emails are there, or the graduate coordinator himself. He is your first-hand information to anything related to your program or getting connection to people. And you can also talk to the international student office, but that one is more on a larger scale. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And please, to our Zoom audience, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask a question. Thank you. We are wrapping up, but let me give you this final question. Someone is asking Gideon that how do I overcome the stress of schoolwork, being an international student? You've gone through this, and we want a practical way to overcome the stress of schoolwork, being an international student. So,
Is it to me or to Danny?
Emmanuel, begin, please.
Okay. So one thing is this, stress management is very important for graduate program, especially for PhD. It's a very important thing you must learn, because PhD, at some point you feel as if you know something, at some point you feel as if you don't know anything. At some point you feel drained. At some point, something's like you are doing something, it's not working out. Sometimes you feel, yes, I got it. But some other time you try and try, it's not working out. Stress management is very, and have a good community. Don't do PhD alone. Don't do graduate work alone. Please have good support system. Connect with people. Like sometimes you guys should just keep schoolwork aside and go out and do something fun.
Okay. Yes.
It will help you. Like sometimes me and my friend will just go out and play golf. We just go out and do something, have game night, do something that will really help you. So that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Danny, please, you help answer the same thing, but we have hands raised. So Justice and Nat. Please, Justice first. What's your question? We are listening.
Okay. Good evening from my side.
Good evening.
Yeah, please. I want to ask about the funding options. Um,
Please, you said you want to ask about the
sometimes if funding, yeah. My question is that sometimes when the program is not categorized as a STEM, it's difficult to get scholarship, especially the social sciences. They give funding to few graduate students. So I want to ask, is it advisable to also go in for loan? Because sometimes the school will tell you to go and search for external funding, and the link that they will give it to you will lead you to, let's say, some loan institutions like Empower, Prodigy, Ascent, and others. So I want to hear from your experience or your advice.
Okay, so please, Danny, you can help with that.
Okay.
You get the question right.
Yeah, I got it out. It actually depends. For me, I wouldn't advise. I would say try another school or look for another place where you might probably get some form of funding. If you are trying to go for the loan to cover everything, that in itself is another problem. You are relocating, thinking that after school you get a job, but life is not really that straight. A lot of things happen in between. So the loan option is something you can consider, but I can't really say that go for it or not. But what I would say is at least either not go for it or it should be a very, very small amount. That's what I can see.
Okay, thanks for your advice. Please, Emmanuel, anything you want to add?
Okay. Yeah, I think Danny put it very well. I will not actually tell you to go for loan, right? when you people like people have this ideology that portrays that as if when you come to America everything will fall in place.
That's true.
And sometimes it takes time for some of those things to fall in place. The ideology of having loan and then going to school and you have your bills to pay. Remember, you pay rent every month, you pay bills, like then you have to pay some of those servicing the loan again. I won't advise that. There are, if possible, there are programs that kind of like give you funding. You can switch field. You can check other programs. You can check some schools. You can reach out to some professors. There will always be a way you can get funding, or ask for one that can help you. Reach out to someone can help you. There is someone in that your program that is also funded, so that can help you to mentor you through the process. So that's what I would say to that.
Okay, thanks so much. So, to justice, please, from both experts, if I can call you so, the advice is that don't go for loan. Do not go for loan. Okay, thank you. Please, Nat, your question. Our time is running. Nat, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening. I want to ask this question. I'm having a friend who had a low GPA.
It's Nat.
He had second class. He had second class lower, and he has applied to universities abroad. He has applied, and he's not getting admission. I want to ask: is there hope for my friend? And also, what other ways can he use in getting admission because of his low GPA?
Wow.
And what other avenues can he use? Lastly, do you people have practical examples of people who had low GPAs, second class, lower, and third class, and they used other means in getting admission in Canada, US, or Australia? That's my question.
We are so concerned about your friend. A friend is in need. It's a friend indeed. So, Danny, please.
What I would say is that if you have a low GPA, a lot of people are applying to the schools. Some schools you can search, you get there, some requiring 2.5, some requiring 2.75 out of 4.0. All these are in the range of a second class lower. Now let's talk about a very, very lower, 2.1, 2.02, almost getting into third class or even a third class. I would say, you see, what the mistake people make is that they don't want to wait. Why am I saying this? I know a friend who had a third class. I talk with him intensely. He has a job in Ghana at the moment he's working. We have a long-term plan for him, and the plan is about 4 to 5 years. He took a certificate course in GIMPA. That is a pre kind of master's in GIMPA. He's done it. And once you are done with the pre-masters in the GIMPA, that means irrespective of your GPA undergrad, you have done the prerequisites to the masters in the school. So they picked him for the GIMPA masters. He just graduated the GIMPA masters. Now the next thing is that we want him to write a GRE. So he's going to write a GRE very soon. Then he will apply. So you apply, you are not getting, you apply. It means that it's signaling that you usually, what you have is not really what they want. So how can you improve it? You can't go back to undergrad and do a 4 years again, but you can do a certificate course or something that can get you into a master's in Ghana, or even you can just do a master's in Ghana again. And with that one, you know that I'm going to use my transcript from the master's to apply for another master's or something outside of the country. So you definitely put in the work and get the GPA up to a 3.0 out of 4 or something. Then you can use that. But that is what I advise. Have a long-term plan, 2 years or something. Try to improve that thing on your transcript that they would always come back to look at to say that they are not giving you funding also. It will amaze you that if you take your time to go through these 2 years, going through the process I'm talking about, you come out with a master's GP, which is very good. You get a very good funding, and you even forget that you had a lower or a third class in undergrad. So that's what I can say to it.
I like this. You even forget that you had a lower class. And please, Emmanuel, if you want to add to it. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, I think Danny said something very important. Going to get something extra to that, and make sure when you go to get that, you don't end up getting a low GPA, because that would be your trouble times 2, right? Make sure you go back, you get that. And one thing I also advise is that write a GRE. And when you write a GRE, do everything to smash it. Because now, even when you smash the GRE and you have a third class, you can put a statement in your SOP to explain what happened. Just one statement to explain what happened. Because some people get third class not because that they are dumb. It's maybe because of life issue that happened in school. Several reasons that, because I have seen someone that had a third class. He was sharing his testimony, had a third class, but he get into school in US for masters, full funding. What did he do? He wrote GRE, he smashed it, and he had his SOP. He made a statement of what happened that made him to get that. See, I was speaking with one professor in my program, because we already have a coffee hour every Friday. So during our morning coffee, so the man was telling me about some students in Africa, some professors in Africa. And I was like, how did this man know about professors in Africa being that mean and wicked? He said they know. And that man is part of the admission committee. So tell me, those people, they know the difficulty in schools in Africa. So those are the ways. Don't just submit it like that. That will not work. Get something to prove yourself. That's what I would say.
Thank you. So please improve yourself. Not to your friend, okay? The person him or her should improve him or herself. I hope you've been answered.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Justice,
Okay.
do you have any other question? Your hand is still raised.
Yes, perfect.
I'll come back to you, okay? So to Peter, please ask your question. Hello, Peter.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
And thank you for this session. My question is, it has been very difficult for me to get schools that don't require GRE. And I have researched, I don't know which website I should search, if there's any, for me to know the schools that does not require GRE in fall 2024. And also, what is the pass mark for GRE? That's my question.
Okay, so two-in-one question. Danny, please begin.
I'll speak to what is the pass mark to the GRE. I would say with the GRE, there is no bad score. There's a bad score to where you are sending it. Does that make sense? So the score you had is not in itself bad, but it depends on where you are sending it. So for me, I would cite this example that, as even Emmanuel said, when I took my GRE, after I had my score, I know that this score cannot go into a very high achieving school I wanted to go into. But I wrote in my SOP that, because of COVID and the stress, I can't retake the GRE. So they should look at other signals on my transcript and CV and see that I'm a good student. I wrote that statement in there. So it really works. So I would say that there's no really a pass mark, but there's a particular website. I don't know if I can find it. It gives you the school and the kind of range of GRE that is accepted there. However, it's even program specific. So you have to know the program you want to go and study. Some of the websites, they can tell you that the GRE requirement for this program is a minimum of so and so. Then you start, okay, preparing towards it. Now, if I want to go to this school, I need to get a minimum of so this much. But I would also say I can't answer the minimum question. What I can say is that if you have a question on the pass mark of the GRE, you can email the your graduate coordinator, as I said. You can so ask him that on average, what is the GRE score of students that come in? They will be willing to give you some form of measure to it. Yeah, so I think I'll leave the rest to Emmanuel to answer.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for that. Yeah, in GRE, there is no specific pass mark. It depends on school, of course. Yeah, Danny has said go to email the school. Now, when it comes to this issue of GRE, I am one of those people that I did my master's without GRE, and I'm doing my PhD without GRE. So, but not that I'm done with it.
It's possible.
I made a very good grade in my undergrad. Like I finished high in my undergrad. And one thing is this: if you want to dodge GRE, I would tell you, make sure you have a first class, at least to debate with. Right? Then that will help you. Right? If you have a first class, you can debate, like you can have an argument. But the thing is this: there are schools that waive GRE. What you have to do, I think Danny has showed us this website that you can go and it will help you. That for ICU. You can use that and access as many schools' websites and the same program you want and see if they require GRE. I tell you, since after COVID, surprisingly, a lot of schools have dropped GRE. A lot of programs, a lot of schools, they've dropped GRE. So you can find a school, go to the website, you can see. But the thing is this: what program are you applying for? There are some specific programs that mostly still require GRE, like programs like in engineering, right? A lot of engineering programs still they still have GRE option. But there are some programs, like some economics program have dropped it. Some chemistry programs have dropped it. Some other programs, few other programs, they've dropped it. So check the department website. Yeah, it's possible. You can get in without GRE, but you have to make sure that your GPA is high enough to stand you out.
Okay, thank you so much, both of you. Sarah, you can ask your question or give your comment.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to ask my question. So Danny mentioned that the strength of your GRE depends on the school that you are sending it to. So I want to ask that what do you advise that maybe I take the GRE and apply for the school so that I know my strength and the strength of the type of schools I can apply to, or I can just apply to the schools and send my GRE scores, because I can still kind of apply to the schools and send my GRE scores later. So what do you advise?
Well, I would say, have a long-term plan. So start early. That's what I can say. Start early. Usually, school applications can take you, if you want to take your time and do it well, and take GRE and all these standardized tests, it can take you minimum of, let's say, 12 months, minimum of 12 months thereabout. So you have to take your time, prepare early, and take the GRE. So once you're able to take the GRE, then you have enough time to do school search. But if you waited and you're not doing school search and you start seeing that they require GRE, and then go like, okay, then let me go and take the GRE. Then whilst you are taking the GRE, it's like as soon as you take it, you are just sending it to the 3 or 4 minimum, let's say, the schools that you have searched. But even when you're going to take the GRE, we know that they require that you have to tell them 4 schools they'll send your score to for free. It's not compulsory though. If you don't have it, you just not send it to anyone. But I would say that start early, take the GRE. Then once you are done and you see your score, you have more room to navigate to get the schools. Also, to know where to send your score. Also, even before going to the test, you should have a general overview. Okay, if I get a 290 to a 300, I think I'll consider these schools. If I get a 300 to a 310, I'll consider these schools. If I get 310 to like a 320, I'll consider these schools. So it is a lot of work. So but the main thing is that start early so that you have time to you have room to make mistakes, correct and send the score to the right schools. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Emmanuel, you would have been allowed to add to it, but because of our time, we have a question from Theophilus. So I'm asking that to you. How is accommodation or rent when one gets admission and funding?
Okay. It depends on the location and where the school is, the city where the school is located, right? Someone in like kind of a rural area cannot compare rent with someone in an urban, like in the city, right? So it depends, like this place. And again, for you to get a place, most apartment complexes around the school area, they have opportunity for you to sign lease as international student. They have those kind of opportunities, ways you can sign lease. So the amount of rent is not like a fixed amount. For example, I'm in Lubbock, Texas, doing my PhD in Texas Tech. It would be completely unreasonable if I compare my rent with someone in California, right? Because you what I might pay in a month might just be what the person even spent in 3 weeks in grocery or 2 weeks grocery, because cost of living is different. Yeah. So those are the things that you consider, the location.
Okay. Sarah, please, do you have any other question? Your hand is still raised.
So I just want to ask, I'm not sure whether you've already touched on this, but suppose maybe coming in as an international student, maybe I'm a prospective international student, but I'm married, and I know that they are different, like the conditions are different in different countries. So what are some of the things I should expect? And even in my application as like someone who is married and is willing to travel as a student, what are like the things I should be on the lookout for when I'm applying, especially with regards to countries, and also when I'm coming in, like what are some of the advices you can give?
Please do, Danny. Yeah, smiling.
This is a big one. I would say get there first. Get the
Please, I'm requesting that you wrap up, okay?
okay. Get the funding, get the scholar, get everything. Get to the point where you are now going to apply for the visa. Then you start thinking about if you have to come directly with your spouse, and maybe if you have a child, then you come with them. Or if you want to come first so that they come later. But the nitty-gritties of it, of what to expect, what to do, and all that is very detailed. So I can't talk much to that. I would say once you get to that point, you would find help some way, somehow. That's what I can say.
Okay. This Emmanuel, a statement you want to add. I want you to be very brief, okay? To add to it.
There's nothing to add much to that. It's one of those things that you always find a way to settle it. So once you have the funding, you will find a way. So yeah, there will always be a way. So that's what I would say. You'll find a way.
All right. Thanks, both of you. Please, a final one. If you do your MSc in USA, like, MSc in business. Is it easy to switch to PhD in economics? Please, no further questions.
Yes, it's possible. What is there is that you have to make sure that you link up your research in the right place, right? You link up what you want to do in your personal statement. Some schools will ask for research statement. Make sure that there is a comprehensive statement on that. I have classmates that did MBA finance, and undergraduate banking and finance, but he was able to prove himself and he got into the PhD program and he's fully funded, right? I have one that is even most interesting. The most interesting one is that he did undergrad in theology and master's in international business, and he got into the PhD economics program. I don't know how. That must be hand of God.
Yeah,
You know, so it depends on how you're able to put your essays together, or how you're able to and your recommendation letter from your professor, what they can say, who they are, what they can say about you. It goes a long way.
the recommendation is also necessary and imperative. Thanks so much. Thanks our audience. Thanks our seasoned expert in this case. Thank you so much. We PLC Purposeful Living Conversation is brought to you by the Friends of Purpose in Christ, FOPIC, and we come your way every Saturday from 7 to 8 to 8:15. Today we went overboard Ghana time in the evening, and we are grateful you joined us. If you have any further questions, do follow us or continue viewing or joining on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and you get in touch with us. Thank you so much, our panelists and our audience. We'll meet next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you.